Dupont, Moinette Ambrée.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
I feel such a twat speaking French. Welcome to Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I've got a bottle of this stuff and it is the Dupont Monet, I imagine that's pronounced. I don't know, fucking French. You're asking the wrong person. And this is their amber beer. Now, this is quite an interesting brewery. They have been going since 1950, but they brew some really good beer apparently, and their yeast is legendary, but I'll get onto that in a minute. The brewery are quite, as I say, they're quite interesting. They brew quite a lot of, you know, the traditional beers, but their most well-known beer is their Saison, which is typical from the French speaking part of Belgium, because Saison is basically French farmers' homebrew. That's what it started out as, and to be honest, I'm not a massive fan of it, it has to be said, but it's got a few things in common with Bière de Garde, which is, again, it's like a sort of a French farmer's homebrew that varied from farm to farm. Now, Bière de Garde is quite strong. The Saison, traditionally, is supposed to be quite weak, and it was given to farm workers. And it was brewed with the local malt and basically local ingredients. But the point of it, I'm going a bit off topic here, but the point of what I'm saying about Saison is this brewery, Dupont Brewery, that is their best-selling beer. But they do this Ambrée, which is quite new actually. It's only been going since 2016. And I've been sort of researching a bit about the brewery, and they look quite interesting, especially for a beer that's only been going since 1950. Now, as I say, they come from a place called Torpe, I think it's pronounced Torpe. It's French, I don't know. But it's from the Hainaut region, which is the French-speaking part of Belgium. It's Walloon, the Walloon part. And they can actually trace their history back to 1759. It's a working farm, and it has been a working farm since 1759. You know, which is some pedigree. Obviously, it hasn't been brewing beer since then, only since 1950, and it's since, I think it was 1990, they started doing cheese and bread as well. They opened up a bakery there. So in the sort of grand scheme of things, they're relatively new, if you get my drift. They have roots going back further, so you know, some of the equipment they use dates back before 1950, and it's, you know, it's one of them things where I think they've been brewing beer before that, but they've only really become established since 1950. And here they are now brewing this stuff here. Now, what's interesting about this is the yeast, and I don't know whether to cover that in this section or the next section, but to be honest, I'm just going to do it in this section because this is quite interesting. Their yeast is quite legendary, and it produces quite spicy flavours, more so than a lot of other Belgian brewers, and it's created a lot of speculation that it's a blend of yeast, but it's also created in some circles a rumour that this is actually derived from a red wine yeast, which if it is, I'm going to be very fucking disappointed, because you know my views on wine.
And tip 4, men don't order wine, alright?
It's renowned for being a very good top fermenting Belgian yeast that produces a lot of spice, and their beers are renowned for their spice, which I really like in Belgian beers actually, and it's one of the characteristics. I know a lot of, you know, other beers have spicy characteristics to it, but the Belgian spice is, you know, they don't just use adjuncts to get that spice. It's in the yeast as well, which is, you know, which is interesting. It's unique to Belgium as well. You really don't get that much spiciness in, say, German or British beers. The spice that you do get is coming from the hops, and it's select, like noble hops or British hops like Fuggles and Goldings, and Target especially, Target and Challenger hops especially. But this is one of their house beers, and as I say, it's only been going since 2016, and it seems quite interesting. Now, I've just tried the Postel beer, which is brewed in the same brewery. I think it's the Alkenmaars brewery, where Foster's and Kronenberg are brewed in Belgium. Now, if that didn't ring alarm bells, I don't know what would. And to be honest, the beer was crap. I know I compared it to Leffe. I've done a comparison. Leffe was better, only by a slight margin because it had more body. And then I mixed the two, and honestly, it was disgusting. It was so sweet, I had to throw the lot down the sink. So hopefully, this is going to be the other end of the scale. It's going to have a little bit of spice on it, and it's going to taste like a beer that's been brewed by people who actually give a shit. So let's investigate it. Right, 330ml bottle. It is 8.5%. It is an amber beer, which is a relatively new style for Belgium. You do get amber beers, but I don't know whether it's a tradition. I'm not sure. They do Bruins, and Brune is a traditional, but lately you see quite a few brewers doing amber beer, and they're quite nice, to be honest. They're quite malty, caramel malt, quite spicy as well, and they genuinely taste good. So I'm hoping this one will. The ingredients are all in French and German. Can I see the ingredients in English? Ingredients, no. Ingredients is a French word. So my eyes light up when I see the word ingredients, and only to be shot down in flames when it's followed by a load of French gobbledygook. No, I can't. And my eyes ain't great. And they've done that. I mean, that's not the easiest to read, especially for fucking Mr. Magoo's love child.
Me, who never touched a drop in my life.
Anyway, let's get it open and let's see what's going on. Right. I'm not sure whether I've had one from Dupont before. I think I have. There's something in the back of my mind saying I've tried and reviewed a Dupont beer before, but it doesn't spring to mind. There you go. Here's the cap if the autofocus. Oh, do you know what? We're getting a fucking extra recycling bin because we've just got too much rubbish. And do you know what? I'm going to threaten this autofocus with the recycling bin, not landfill. I'll cut out the middleman. No, I won't cut out the middleman. I'll delegate. That's what I'll do in true managerial fashion. Let's get it into the glass. And as you can see straight away, that is an amber beer. Going into a Leffe glass. Now, I'm not hoping this Leffe glass isn't a fucking bad omen, because I've had some bad beers out of it, and I got it as a Christmas present, and Christmas was only 3 days away. It's the 28th now. Oh yeah, that smells nice. Fair bit of caramel malt, a little bit of spice, quite sweet. I'm getting some what I perceive as candy sugar. Interesting. I will say the aromas are a little bit subdued, but it's what I'd sort of expect from an amber. 8.5%. I'd be expecting a little bit of ethanol, but I'm not getting that on the moment. Interesting. Let's see. Well, there it is in the glass. It's sort of like a murky brown colour. Head is dissipating. That's normal with 8.5%. That's just going to go. So let's get it down the hatch before it does. Cheers. Oh, that spice on the finish. It's nice. Combined with the ethanol, makes it really interesting. But there is a sweetness there that balances it out. quite nicely. And I have to say, this is like a breath of fresh air compared to the Leffe and the Postle. Seriously, do not buy that fucking beer. It is not worth it at all. Let's have another dip into this. The ethanol's quite big on this. Oh, that spicy finish. There is a lot of black and white pepper spice on that finish. Coupled with the ethanol, it does make it seem extra spicy. You do get that warming as it goes down. And there's even a very, very subtle burning on the back throat. I mean, it is subtle, but it does make it seem a little bit spicy. It's quite full-bodied, I will say that. There's a fair bit of caramel malt on that too. And the sweetness is there, that candy sugar sweetness is there, balancing it all out. Carbonation's quite big too. Oh, I love that spicy finish at the end. That's really nice. It's like a little kick just as it goes down. And it's like, as I say, it's like very intense black pepper coupled with some ethanol, which just amplifies it. And that's really nice. I do like that. Now, I'd say this with a lot of these high ABV Belgian beers, but it's not one for guzzling. And this certainly isn't. And one thing I do know is that the saison, the really popular saison that they do, that uses East Kent Goldings, and it wouldn't surprise me if they've used some of that in there, because you're getting a fair amount of spice from the, I'm assuming it's from the yeast and from probably some of the hop content that's in there too. There's a very subtle hint of sourness on that. And it's quite subtle. You really have to sort of apply yourself to get that. I can get that, and it's just adding to the very nice flavour on this. You sort of get that you're drinking an 8.5% beer as well, because, as I say, there's that ethanol on the back end that burns and warms slightly. When I say it burns, it's very subtle. But on the palate, it's not big. And that's good as well. I mean, you can see the head. The head is virtually non-existent there. But if I give that a swig around, you can see that cloying sweetness that you get in the mouth. I don't know what it is, but that just tends to leave a film along the glass. I don't know if you can see that or not, because it's autofocus. I don't know, if I threaten it with a landfill, maybe you can see it. But can you see, I don't know if you can see that in there, but there's a very thin film that it leaves. And I see that sometimes with cognac and whiskey, when you swirl that around in a glass and it leaves that. You're getting that on there too. I have to say, this is a very nice amber beer. Yeah, really good. Very impressed with that. Very flavourful, and it's got the full range of flavours. Caramel malt, you got the candy sugar, you got the spice on the finish, which is lovely. Very subtle ethanol. To my palate, maybe people that aren't used to it will pick that up straight away, but it's nice. I like that. Very drinkable. So what's the verdict on Moinette Ambrée? Yeah, very nice indeed. And I have to say that the flavours in that are a hell of a lot better than the Leffe. I know they're comparing two different beers there, but it's just, you know, you can tell a beer that they've actually taken pride in, and they actually care about what they're putting out, and that's really nice. You've got the full range of flavours in there. Caramel, you got the very nice spicy finish on the end, and yeah, I have absolutely no complaints about this whatsoever. This is a very solid amber beer. I'd say it's a cross between, it's not a cross between, but it's got elements of being a blonde, a double, and with that high ABV, that 8.5%, a triple as well. So you know, if you can imagine the full spectrum of blondes, doubles and triples, then you're sort of getting that in there. So if you don't like this, then you're probably not going to. So if you like singles, doubles and triples, you're going to like this, because to my palate, it's a sort of a mixture of the three really, and it's very nice. I'm going to give that a very solid 8.5 out of 10. And I have to say, I am going to check out some more of the stuff that comes from that Dupont brewery, because they're, if it's anything like that, that is going to be really nice. I'm not sure about the saison. I'll see. I'll have to think that one over, and if I can get hold of it as well. But if I can, that is going to get tested out as well. But as far as this is concerned, this is really nice. This is 8.5%. Very nice, very drinkable, and I recommend it. That was got to me by a mate called Campo. Well done, Campo. Come on, you irons, up the hammers and all that. And yeah, really appreciate it. That is very nice indeed. And remember, beer is working class champagne.